There comes a moment in a woman's life when silence doesn't simply arrive, it finds her. Breathe. Not the silence of an empty room, not the quiet that follows heartbreak, but a deeper kind. A silence that forms when she realizes she spent years carrying the whole world while slowly losing the sound of her own inner voice. I didn't understand that silence at first. I resisted it, filled it with responsibilities, with caretaking, with the 1,000 roles sexism I thought made me good or strong. Breathe. Unleashed. On the outside, I looked composed, but inside, I felt like a bookshelf where someone kept removing books, one by one, until only the frame remained. Carl Jung once wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that matter to you." When I heard that, Simmons, it felt less like a quote and more like a diagnosis. Breathe. Don't grow lonely from lack of company. We grow lonely when we've spent too long being everything to everyone and nothing to ourselves. The disappearing woman, there is a kind of loneliness that grows politely, softly. Multiplication. It arrives in the moments that between responsibilities, in the pauses when suddenly the silence has weight, limbs has weight. Was day. I caught myself sitting in my parked car outside a grocery store, hands on the steering wheel, the world rushing around me. And for a moment, I didn't know which version of me I was supposed to step into next. Psychologist, suspension, the dependable one, the woman who handles everything. I had worn so many masks for so long. I couldn't tell whether the real woman underneath still existed. Breathe. Jung warned us, the persona, the mask, is useful until the mask becomes the face. And I realized self-me had fused to my skin over me noticing. The shadow that knocks softly. Most people hear shadow, missionary. Then for many women, the shadow is not something evil. It is the woman we abandoned Simmons to survive. The girl who wanted more, who felt deeply, who dreamed boldly, who believed she could be her whole self without apology. She didn't vanish. She simply stepped aside, salmon so a more acceptable version of me shipping could take her place. Unborn, and eventually, that unlived self to knock. Migration at first, then louder. Breathe. Not through sadness, but through restlessness. Through a soft ache that whispered, "This life is too small, sentenced for the woman you are becoming." Solitude became the doorway, not the painful kind, the kind that calls you inward with a patience older than memory. The sacred solitude, when restricted, when we finally stop resisting it, reveals who we truly are. At first it felt strange. I wasn't used to hearing my own breath in a quiet room. I wasn't used to evenings that belonged only to me. But slowly, emptiness dismissed and talked feeling like space. Space I never had before. Space I didn't even know I needed. Jung believed that midlife, persistence is when the psyche demands integration, when all the parts we've silenced, siblings, rise to the surface, submissive, asking to be acknowledged. Shima, illing is where those parts return. In that space, I began doing simple things. Drinking tea in sunlight, walking slowly under trees. Smith, writing thoughts I had forgotten. Blitz, breathing with intention instead of urgency. And for the first time, fishing in a very long time, I felt the presence, Smith, of the woman I had abandoned. Breathe. Not a dramatic moment, not an epiphany, just a quiet recognition. I'm still here. The return to the self. The deeper I went into solitude, the clearer it became. Loneliness and aloneness, turbulence. Loneliness is the fear of meeting yourself. Aloneness is the doorway to rediscovering yourself. In the quiet, my inner world began to speak, not in words, but in clarity. I felt the shape of my true desires, missions in my body, in my breath, in the way I moved through the world when no one was watching. I realized, sessions, I wanted peace, real peace, justly that doesn't collapse when someone else is upset. I wanted connection, bishops, when fear, not from emptiness, but from a whole heart, defamation, real, raw, mine. Silent solitude didn't give me answers. It gave me permission. Permission to say no. Permission to say yes. Permission to take up space without shrinking. Permission without apologizing, without performing. Breathe. Slowly, I felt myself returning. Not the old self, but the one I had never met. The one who was always waiting beneath the noise. Young-spokenness Jung spoke of. There comes a moment on every woman's journey when she realizes she no longer needs permission to exist as herself. That moment is the beginning of wholeness. Not perfection, missions. The integration of all the women she has been, and all the ones impartial to keep the peace. Wholeness feels like sunlight. You no longer feel the need to earn. It feels like breath that doesn't apologize for being loud. It feels like standing in your own presence and knowing this enough. The gift hidden in solitude. If I could speak to every woman who feels something shifting inside her, who senses a quiet calling inward, I would tell her gently, unrestricted, you are not falling apart. You are falling into yourself. Breathe. You are not disappearing. You are returning. You are not being emptied. You are being cleared. You are not losing your life. You are making space for the true one. Mill. Filthy is not an ending. It is an initiation, a threshold, a homecoming. And the woman who emerges from that sacred space is not fragile. She is formed, not lonely, belings, but aligned. Not waiting to be chosen, bishops, but choosing herself, missions, freely, whole. Closing in, breathe in, softly, slow. And when you exhale, let yourself return to the woman you've always been, missions beneath all the noise. The need more perfect women. It needs more whole ones. And wholeness begins right here, and in the sacred solitude, siblings you used to fear, but now, finally, understand. Stay here with me, just a little longer. Breathe. If something in this journey touched you, if a part of you whispered, "This is me, I've lived this," then honor that whisper. It's the beginning of remembering yourself. You don't need to rush back into the world. You don't need to push away what you're feeling. Every sensation inside your chest right now is truth, and it deserves space. This place, Inner Balance Psychology, is a quiet home for women like you. Women who have carried so much, loved so deeply, lost so silently, and are now finding their way back to themselves with grace. Here, your story isn't too much. Your depth isn't overwhelming. Your silence isn't strange. It's understood. Breathe. So if this journey made you feel seen or softened something inside you, you are invited, gently, to stake and task, but as a small sacred ritual of choosing yourself again. And before you go, if you feel comfortable, you can leave a simple comment below. Nothing personal, nothing heavy. Maybe that just one word that captures where you are in your journey. Returning, becoming, awake, whole, or simply where in the world you're listening from. A city, a country, a small corner of your life. Astersly. It's a beautiful reminder that even in solitude, we are walking together, shields from many different places, toward the same inner home. Asterly. Breathe. Remember. River.